What we're really talking about is paid rape.
My name is Sophie Oswald.
I'm Madeleine, Switzer. Topeka, Kansas is currently where I live.
And it's just a small city that it happens in.
Thinking about Kansas and people getting trafficked here, it's kind of mind-blowing.
It's insane that something as serious as sex trafficking happens everywhere.
People in my city are doing this to other people, and there's people here who need help but can't get the help because we don't have the resources.
The question I get every week is it happening here? But is it happening in Topeka? What do you mean, it's happening in Topeka? And I'm like, yes. But nobody wants to believe that.
There's people getting raped, kidnapped.
It's happening to children.
Their lives are just stolen from them.
And until you realize that it's part of your story, part of our story as a community, it's easy to overlook that.
It happens here in Topeka. It happens in every state of America. It happens every country in the world. So why isn't there more done about it?
The legal definition is using somebody through force, fraud, or coercion for the purposes of selling sex. Force, fraud, and coercion are not required for children, of course, because children cannot consent to sex legally. So force, fraud, and coercion are not required. But what we're really talking about is paid rape, where most often people are under the control of another person, a trafficker or a pimp, who is forcing them to sell themselves, sell their bodies for the purposes of sex. And the person who is being sold doesn't get to keep any of the money. If they resist, they're often experience extreme violence. I don't like the term sex worker. And it's because someone who had been victimized pointed out to me, what kind of job do you get beaten, stabbed, choked, raped? That's not a job. And I was like, you're absolutely right. I'm never going to call that work again. But growing up in the 80s and 90s in education, that's what we thought. That's what we were taught, that women were there because it was empowering to them. And it may be for some women, but for most people, that's not their experience.
Human trafficking is in the top 2 most lucrative crimes in the world right now. They think that it's at least a $32 billion industry. So the first is drugs, second, humans, third, weapons. Why? Because if I have a drug and I sell it to you, I have to go get more drugs. But if I have a child, I can sell it to every single person in this room over and over and over.
We're so tired and sick,
So we're going to a therapist.
we don't know where we're going, so maybe we should stop filming.
We think it's this building, like right here, but
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
we don't know. And we're too awkward and anxious to just walk.
Yeah. We got 20 minutes though. We're doing okay on time here.
Can you just tell us who you are, what you do, what kind of clients you work with?
Sure. My name is Tara Wallace, and I am a licensed specialist clinical social worker. I work with primarily children, focused on trauma. My training primarily is in trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, and that is identified as one of the most effective treatments for sexual trauma in children.
The goal of the trafficker is to own this person, mind, body, and soul.
If you can convince someone that what you're doing is not harmful or that it's the only choice that a person has, you have that sense of power over them to control their mind, to control their thoughts, to control their actions, to control how they see themselves, how they see others, to get them to go along with whatever it is that you're trying to do.
At the UN, they believe 99% of people are under a trafficker's control.
Why don't people leave?
Yeah.
Because they're terrified and they're beaten or they're brainwashed, manipulated. So many reasons.
I think that people need to understand the culture of sex trafficking before they make those judgments about people wanting to stay in it or people, well, you should be able to just walk away. It's not that simple.
Most of us think, oh, we would never do that. You couldn't make us do that. And so when people say that, I just encourage them to think about under what situation you would do that.
You don't know what you don't know. It's hard for you to recognize that someone is being genuine if all you've known is this manipulation and this abuse of power.
It's unfair and unreasonable to think that we're so different. Be honest. If you can't feed your child and your child needs food and diapers, you're probably going to do whatever you have to do to get that kid food and diapers.
It seems easy. It seems like someone would want to get help and you would think that this is a bad situation, but if that's all you've known, that's what your life is.
At least 90% of people in sex trafficking were abused before they were ever trafficked. And that's part of the grooming process, the beat down process that says that someone else has control over you. You don't have any bodily integrity. One of the things about sex trafficking is you have to have some disposable income. So we're talking about doctors and lawyers and pastors and teachers and legislators and the college men. So people with money are also the same people with power. We don't go after those people because they have power in our communities, right? There are lawmakers. They're the people that decide which laws are going to be enforced and which are not. They're the ones that decide who goes to court and who doesn't. So I think that's really problematic in a way, that the people with power are the same people driving sex trafficking. What they all have in common is a lack of respect for women. Not seeing women and children as human beings, but as property or things to be used. And the sense of entitlement that those men carry when, with them every day impacts all of us, even if we're not being trafficked, right? So these are the same guys that are grabbing butts in the office and making lewd comments at the restaurants. We get to decide what we'll accept and what we won't accept. And I think right now a lot of people, of course, do not accept that, children being raped. But I've talked to a lot of people who have also said to me, well, did you see what she was wearing? And I have to say to them, why does that matter? If she's naked, walking down the street, it doesn't give you the right to touch her. It doesn't give you the right to rape her. But somehow we have this idea that, if I think she's a bad person, then I'm entitled to do things to her. And that's pretty messed up.
I just don't get why it's so hard for people to just have a heart and be a good person.
We only get a certain amount of time on this planet, and I think that we should do our best to treat each other with respect and as human beings, because that's who we want to be.
This is why I care. Who's gonna help the people that need help if they don't have friends and family there to help them?
I think it's important to discuss this issue and to be aware of this issue, and for everyone to do something about it because it's happening everywhere all the time.
Every place I go, people are like, why aren't we talking about this? Why aren't you blasting this? And I'm like, I am. You're not listening.